Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Copiers Plus getting the big screen treatment at the Sports Podcast Festival at the Rialto. Big logo right on that screen, baby.
Look good.
Did look good. Look good in 2025 as well. I mentioned Eford Studios. They seem to be doing some construction today here at Eford Studios. So if you hear a low drone in the background, no, that is not Drew Weatherford of Florida State. That is not FSU fans, Danny Cannell included, droning on and on and on about how the officials were out to get Florida State in Ireland. That Jim Phillips put the call in to make sure that the Seminoles would be embarrassed in Ireland against Georgia Tech. No. It's just drilling taking place in the background. That's all that is. If that's what you hear. Oh, FSU.
I was not expecting that to be the reaction from them.
It exists. It exists. I mean, you can go into the deepest, darkest parts of the internet. Yeah, you can go on War Chant and look at the message boards and see how folks are just. I'm sure John Swafford, some way, somehow, is to blame for this. Although, as I joked at the Sports Podcast Festival on Saturday night, John Swafford probably cracked open a Bud Light Lime, took a sip, and just enjoyed it. I was like, Florida State, all that complaining, all that whining, we're important, we're this, we're that, we're the reason why this league even exists, and then you go out there and you fall on your face against Georgia Tech.
Well,
in week 0, which 0 is appropriate. Florida State with a tribute to week 0. 0 in the win column, as Tim Reynolds, your guy at the AP, pointed out. Congratulations to Florida State. They are the first ever ACC team to have sole possession of 17th place in this new ACC.
Yeah. Okay. Now, first of all, I know there is a tendency. I know you're putting on a little bit of a show.
Not fine. Really, but go ahead.
No, I think Georgia Tech played really well in this football game.
Yeah, there is that.
Defensively, in particular, up front, I thought Miami's offensive line was a problem. I thought Florida State's offensive line was a problem. I also thought, we spent a lot of time last year praising Mike Norvell and praising Florida State for going into the portal and getting some players. Mm-hmm. And their starting running back, yes, is from Alabama. They also have a receiver from Alabama. But you look across that board, and I'm looking here, I'm going, now Florida State, it's one thing to go out and go get DJ Uiagalelei. That was your choice. I get it. And I thought DJU was ultimately fine.
He was DJU.
Made some plays on that final drive where I was like, okay, or Florida State's final drive, mm-hmm. Okay. But I looked at Florida State and I'm going, now, wait a second. You didn't follow your own blueprint here. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's a lack of money or a lack of NIL. I just think, sometimes you get a Jared Verse from Albany and sometimes you don't. Mm-hmm. Keon Coleman is a guy they went out and prioritized in the portal. And he was arguably the top receiver, not only in the ACC, but out of the portal in the entire country.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things that made you successful. That's what I looked at when I saw Florida State. I thought Georgia Tech's defense played really well in the game, tackled at an extremely high level.
Yes.
For an August football game. The thing about Georgia Tech, and we've talked about them just a little bit, and it kind of like in a glancing way.
That's typical for the Yellow Jackets.
With Brent Key. They're 5-0 now against ranked ACC opponents. Mm-hmm. 5-0. Mm-hmm. That's kind of sort of amazing, mm-hmm. if you think about it. So I feel bad for the remaining ranked opponents on Georgia Tech's schedule. Hopefully that includes Notre Dame in October, but Miami and NC State right now. I mean, they have a really tough schedule, and I think that's where people are starting to kind of come around on. Now, wait a second, what could Georgia Tech be? I think you look at Florida State though, and you could sit here and be like, okay, cool, they're in 17th place, all this other stuff. They still have a very clear path to the college football playoff.
Come on.
And that is by winning the ACC.
Come on, are we really going to... So, okay, there's two ways to look at this, and I'm not trying to dismiss the way you're looking at it, because the one thing about the expanded college football playoff is that it truly brings home to roost. Do not overreact to the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, we're more of a college basketball and NFL mode here now for college football.
So in years past, whether it was the BCS or the college football playoff, this would be devastating for Florida State.
Crushed. They'd be done.
They are done. They're never going to get over that loss in the eyes of people who are making decisions for the college football playoff. So I get that perspective in that we have to rewire our brain to not look at what happened in a close game down to the wire against Georgia Tech in Ireland with jet lag and everything else. Who knows? I don't know, maybe Pat McAfee's blood alcohol level bled out into the field at some point. I have no idea, right? I get all that stuff. That's a very rational way of looking at this. But the problem is we're dealing with irrational people.
Sure.
We're dealing with the most irrational group of people in the ACC. So I'm sorry. You want to come at it from hey, Florida State, it's okay. The season will progress. Mike Norvell's a good coach. They'll figure things out with DJU. You're talking about Florida State's line. That's not the way the folks at Cover 3 presented the line. That's not how the folks presented. They're both offensive line and defensive line. I mean, the biggest surprise, if we want to go at it from a football perspective, was how Georgia Tech mushed Florida State on both ends of the line.
Yeah.
And Brent Key got viral after the fact. I forgot I think it was Katie George, who was a sideline reporter for ESPN in this game, asked about, hey, you're an offensive line guy. You got to be happy with this. He's like, run the ball, right? So he was clearly feeling it. I get all that stuff. But back to the irrational portion of this. The reason why people are reacting the way they're reacting, why Tim Reynolds is making jokes, why I'm making jokes. I made a list of the order of who is most amused by Florida State's loss. Okay. We could do a top 4 or 4 if you wanted to.
Yeah. Of
people most amused by Florida State's loss, which I'll get to in a second. After we've dealt with a year and a half of Florida State whining, and let's strip away the college football playoff snub, which I was very much on board where Florida State was coming from. I felt sympathetic to where Florida State was coming from. I banged on Jim Phillips for not fighting for the league at that time. Strip that aside. Outside of a week where I felt sympathetic for Florida State has been a pain in the ass. Their fans have been a pain in the ass. The board of trustees have been a pain in the ass. They present themselves as, you're lucky to even have us. And then it always comes back down to a simple thing. If you're going to talk shit, you better follow through. And Florida State has not followed through to start the season off. As Jason Kirk joked from Shutdown Fullcast, it's like, oh, now I get why Florida State wants to leave the ACC. Because they can't get past Georgia Tech. Maybe in the Big 12, they'll have a better chance. Maybe we've had it wrong the entire time. You know how you talked about what's a better opportunity for you to get to the college football playoff? Why would you not want to win the ACC? That puts you in best position, you and Clemson. Maybe we had it wrong. Maybe the ACC is too tough for Florida State. And maybe they should go to the Big 12 where they can win the league more often than not at this point in the modern era. So I get it. There's a real football aspect to it, but you understand Florida State deserves to get dunked on after what happened on Saturday.
I hear you.
Oh,
I hear you.
Okay.
I just fear that you're going to get to the end of the year, and we're not you, but just in general, the people are like, "Oh my God, it's over. It's this, it's that."
Oh yeah,
Paul Feinbaum.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, it's a new paradigm. It's a new model. It's a completely different world for college football right now.
Yeah.
And in the back of my head, I'm hearing Dave Doran sitting here going, why do you think I'm playing Western Carolina the week before I play Tennessee?
No shit.
You know what I mean?
Right,
that's a tough week 0 game. For all the reasons that you mentioned, going over there, doing this, doing that.
Mm-hmm.
The curve, we've seen this obviously in college basketball. The curve has been flattened by the portal.
Mm-hmm.
And you're seeing it in college football too. Jimbo Fisher, you say amused,
right?
How about the people who should be mad?
There is that. There is.
You're Jimbo Fisher, sure. You're counting your money somewhere, but you're looking at Haynes King, Georgia Tech's quarterback, going, "Well, I thought I knew what I was. I see. I told you I could find talent.
You just didn't know what to do with it.
I just didn't know what to do with it."
Yeah, you're right. There's a list of who's mad. Texas A&M fans would be the ones that go, "What the hell?
Why is this guy carving up other people? Not for us."
Right.
I just think the curve has been flattened by the portal. We saw it in college basketball. It's coming home to roost in college football if it hasn't already. Sometimes it takes it for something to happen local for us to kind of recognize it, because obviously Michael Penix going from Indiana to Washington and leading Washington to the national championship game, you go, oh, okay, well, yeah, the world's different now.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think the world is different in college football. I understand the schadenfreude of Florida State failing in their opener, but I also understand there's a new reality to this, and I still think there's a pretty good chance Florida State ends up being in Charlotte.
Absolutely.
In the first Saturday of December.
Yeah.
In the ACC championship game.
We got weeks for that. We have multiple weeks to get into that, Joe. Right now is about shitting on Florida State.
I missed the assignment.
You missed the assignment today. You came in all serious. Which is funny because you came in wearing a Carolina soccer shirt for reasons.
Yes, my guy.
So you, of all people, should
repping
know.
my guy.
You're repping your guy. I'm repping for the rest of the league. At this point, I'm repping for the ACC.
You're like,
at this
hold
point.
up. You guys want to sue and just badmouth us to the end of time?
Because I know ACC PM, bless Mark Packer, that's not what will be happening this afternoon on the ACC network.
No, he'll be slightly hamstrung by that.
But if I was at the ACC network today, I would go full Feinbaum. I would open up the phone lines. I'm being serious. I would open up the phone lines and let people call in and just shit on Florida State after what had happened this past weekend. So yeah, I mean, my top four of amused people. Number 4, Clemson fans. Dabo. And I don't think Dabo drinks. I mean, I mentioned John Swafford cracking open that Bud Light Lime somewhere in Sedgefield. I don't think Dabo drinks. I'm pretty sure Dabo, I don't know, opened up a pack of nabs and just chuckled watching DJ go like, so I see Florida State fans are now seeing what we've all seen about DJ Uyunglele. Now, in defense of Florida State, they brought DJU on to essentially just do you, but we're the faith in we've got more talent around. Maybe that's hubris on Florida State's part. I don't know. I could see their game plan, but DJU is very much DJU. Nothing new there. The SEC and the Big Ten were probably amused. I'd love to see the text chain. Can we FOIA SEC ADs? Can we FOIA them?
Yeah.
Just to see if there was any text going back and forth going, so, hey, I know we didn't really have an appetite to bring on Florida State, but we do need teams to beat. What do you think? You want to bring them on? I think they would be amused by that. I mentioned John Swafford at number 2. And of course, number 1, every ACC fan who is not a Florida State fan. And if I was Mark Packer today, I would kick it old school. I'd open up the Weiner line and play that clown music and just let people go to town on Florida State. But then again, I am not the program director for the ACC network. Jeremy, if you're listening, just telling you, dude, do it once. Just once, man. College football is back, which means DraftKings is back on Ovies and Giglio as a corporate champion. And look, we all had that week 0 appetizer, and hopefully you're not full on that. As entertaining as it was, it's really here with week 1. I hope you told your family, go kick rocks, because it's time to watch all this college football. Got big matchups in Atlanta between preseason number 1 and number 16. It's going to be DraftKings' biggest college football season to date, and you can enjoy the ride all the way through the expanded playoffs, as we talked about. Plus, all you newbies out there getting into the college spirit. If you haven't dialed into DraftKings just yet, now is the time to do it. A little something extra for you. New DraftKings customers who bet $5 will get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So you can score big with DraftKings all college football season long. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code OG24. When you use OG24 as new customers, you will get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. What's the line for the NC State Western Carolina game on Thursday?
I do not have DraftKings open. It's 37, I think.
37?
Yeah, and the interesting one is Carolina, who has now flipped to a favorite.
Oh, okay.
At Minnesota. That I have been keeping track of. They have been a small underdog. They are now a slight favorite at Minnesota. I wonder what could possibly be moving that number. Carolina beat them by 18 last year. Obviously, that was a different set of circumstances, different rosters. That was down in Chapel Hill. Honestly, this is one of the more interesting openers that Carolina or anyone has played in our area because of what it means for the rest of the season. You know, you look at, we've talked a lot about State's schedule, but Carolina's schedule is also very manageable. It is. There's a little bit more hidden in Carolina's schedule in those first 4 games. This one obviously being a big one. And then James Madison coming into Chapel Hill in 3 weeks will also be very interesting. So those are the ones I've been kind of sort of keeping an eye on in college football. This week, you know, it's hard. 33.5 is the number. I don't know if you know this, but
I was looking at this. 53%. Explain this to me. 53% of the bets have been on Western Carolina, meaning that there are a lot of people who expect NC State to beat Western Carolina, just not by 33.5.
Yeah, Western Carolina is a team that put up a lot of points last year.
Okay.
ECU hired their offensive coordinator and then also bought in a bunch of their receivers.
Okay.
So I don't know if the cupboard's going to be there for Western Carolina. The total you'll see there at 61 is there for a reason, because as Dave Doran mentioned last week in his presser, Western Carolina did have one of the better offenses in the FCS last year, but a lot of those guys aren't there anymore, and that kind of trickle up portal flattening out thing that I was kind of talking about. So not the one I have my eye on, to be perfectly honest with you. The one I really like this week, I'm fading Stanford already. Operation Fade Stanford, 8.5 point home dog.
Yeah.
But I think TCU is going to go out there and get them pretty good.
It was funny at the podcast festival. I had a couple of listeners come up with the Florida State result, and they're like, yeah, I tried to take a sensible bet, but then I noticed that on the live line, they started to jump on the fact that Georgia Tech was going to be just straight up winner.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to one of our Georgia Tech people.
There were like 4 or 5 Georgia Tech fans there Saturday night at the Rialto, and I was just like,
well, one of them,
wow,
one of them's
impressive,
a brother and a sister. Young left-hander who I'm sure you've interacted with on Twitter in the past. What was cool about the Sports Podcast Festival is that I got to meet people from social media that I've never actually met, even though I've interacted with them for 15 years or more. And I feel like I know them, and I actually got to meet them, which was really, really cool. But yeah, big Georgia Tech fans. They've made trips up here in the past. So he was incredibly hyped for that. And as he was feeling it after the game, when I got to the Rialto, he was very much like, the minute they went for 2 to start, they were scared, and I could tell, and Georgia Tech could tell. And that's when I started to put the money on. So that's where we're at with DraftKings. So we thank them for coming back as a corporate champion now that we're in the middle of the football season. Very excited about that. So we will be getting some OG Gambling Syndicate action the rest of the season.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
Housekeeping brought to you by Enovana. Check them out online. Enovana.com. ENOVANA.com.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
OG Fans has launched. We've got some premium podcasts. Our conversation with Debbie Yao at the Sports Podcast Festival will make an appearance, if I can get the file from Hayes, will make an appearance as a Law of the Wolf episode this week. So go to ogtrianglemedia.com. You sign up. It's really easy. $13 a month, pay as you go. You can sign up for the year and save a little bit of money, $143 for the year, or you can be part of the Founders Club, which we're only doing for the first month of signups. With the Founders Club, it's $200. You get access to OG Fans all year, the newsletter, the podcast, and some gifts. We're still finalizing the gifts. I know one of them will be a hat. One of them will be a tote bag. Depending on how much money we save, we might throw something else in. I don't know. We'll see. Just keep an eye on that. So go to ogtrianglemedia.com to sign up today. I was at Longleaf yesterday in anticipation of being at Longleaf on Thursday, Joe.
Thursday, 1 o'clock. The tailgate. Join us. We are OG live, Sleek Fleet OG live from Longleaf Swine over on the corner of Edenton and Person. There's always parking on Edenton.
They got a couple end of summer specials right now. I had the collard melt, which is always on the menu, but they also had a squash sandwich.
I saw that. Oh, that's amazing.
The heirloom tomato BLT is fantastic. Jacob, my 13-year-old, who does not like tomatoes, typically when we order a sub or something like that, he does not want tomatoes on it. He actually, he says, so you want the BLT? He's like, yeah, just extra bacon. I'm like, so no tomatoes? He goes, no, I actually like their tomatoes because they're heirloom tomatoes. They are fantastic. And then after we went to Longleaf on Sunday, we head over to Two Roosters because I finally had to get around to try that peanut butter cookie. And look, I know that
I already wrote it down last week, man. I can't write it down again.
You are often accused of falling in love at first bite with just about anything.
Yes,
you fall hard quick.
I do.
And you weren't kidding about the peanut butter cookie,
right?
It was legit, man.
Right?
Absolutely legit. Because we're talking like whole chunks. They do not skimp on this.
So my last run was peanut butter cookie, 1 scoop.
Yeah.
1 scoop of chocolate.
Ooh.
Put them together.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jared knows what he's doing, man. Come on.
I like where your head's at on that. Kelly had the Brookio. So did Jay. Jay went and got some Two Roosters. He tried the Brookio, the little ice cream.
The cake.
The cake?
Yes, I told you had a Brookio cake, and it was off the charts.
That looks fantastic.
Yeah.
That looks fantastic. Our guy, Zach, after he went to the Sports Podcast Festival and enjoyed himself, he went and supported Two Roosters as a corporate champion.
Our peeps.
So they enjoyed the show, and then they went and celebrated with a pint of Two Roosters. You can do the same. I saw the QR code for the not-so-secret Pint of the Month Club. Shh. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. Go to tworoosters.com to find out more. Big thanks to Matt Davis, InsureGartner.com, VOGinsurance.com, or call him directly at 919-779-8277. With Matt Davis, you can save money. More importantly, you get home-based customer service. Okay, they're based out of Garner, a real person here. You'll see him at games. Maybe he's checking out some Big 12 action because that's his official conference. But call him directly. Talk to a human. 919-779-8277.
We got ourselves an easy Matt Davis 12 game of the week, sir.
What do we got?
FCS power North Dakota State goes to Colorado to take on Deion Sanders. Anytime you see a Power 4, whatever we're calling them now, team as a single-digit favorite against an FCS opponent, your eyes should kind of light up a little bit.
The spidey senses tingling.
Something is happening here.
Something's up.
So North Dakota State at Colorado is your Matt Davis 12 game of the week.
And of course, big thanks to Rowback. Saw a couple Rowback polos while we were at the Sports Podcast Festival. I was at Two Roosters and I saw a Rowback polo. I like to take credit anytime I see a Rowback polo.
Same.
OG20,
I like to tell people.
As we were wrapping up the after party at the Rialto on Saturday, I walked past you and I told you, burn that SMU hoodie.
Oh, man.
Because they were losing. But then they actually pulled it out and won.
They came back.
So don't burn.
That's tomorrow. I'll bring it out tomorrow.
I would tell you not to burn that hoodie regardless of what SMU does this season, because those Rowback hoodies are incredibly comfortable.
They're the best.
And they got some more officially licensed gear that you can check out. All you got to do is go to rowback.com, RHOBACK.com. Use that promo code OG20 to save 20% off your next order. Joining us in studio on the Heaster Automotive Group hotline from the Daily Tar Heel, the News and Observer, she is Shelby Swanson. And Shelby, you're wearing NC State gear today. What's up with that?
Okay, let me clarify.
I'm so confused today. Joe's got Carolina soccer on. You got State stuff on. What is happening?
I believe, as my friends like to say, it's a great day to be a Tar Heel. I don't know if they say it out or if they just do it as a hashtag, but I'm here for them.
No, let's have a day, folks. But really what I want to do is, and we'll get into why exactly I am wearing the shirt, because context is everything. But just while we're here, if the camera will pick it up, just want to show off the back of this shirt, because
you're gonna have to. I'll mute your mic that way.
Mute the mic.
Okay, mute the mic so you can turn around and you don't have to worry about hitting the mic or anything like that. So if you want to show the back of the shirt to the YouTube audience, pull. What is up with that wolf?
That wolf
that's
wolf, like strangely like a person, but also at the same time jacked.
Right. That is nightmare fuel wolf pack right there. That is some nightmare fuel right there.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. I got 2 shirts for my brothers. Both of them are underclassmen at NC State, and just had a really great time learning more about this tractor engineering team. So we'll get into that a little bit.
Well, it's funny. We had one of our listeners point out, like, hey, you just had Debbie Yao at the podcast festival, the Sports Podcast Festival. And the big reason why we had Debbie Yao show up, the former AD at NC State, who stole the show, in my opinion,
absolutely,
was because 2024 has been the year of the Wolfpack. And not only are they crushing it with basketball, men's and women's, they crushed it with baseball, but there's all these other little championships that they win. I don't want to say little, but it's been a very successful year, right down to club sports. for a while there, it used to be a joke that, oh, well, you got nothing but bass fishing, when bass fishing was the club sport that was actually winning stuff. I think
Nothing's wrong with that.
I think
by the way.
sailing also won something too. NC State sailing won something. So somebody reached out to you to say, hey, if we're going to do the full, if we're going to do the full year of the Wolfpack, we need to talk about the Pack Pullers engineering squad with the Intimidator, a Dale Earnhardt inspired tractor pull. Do I have this right?
Yeah. Oh, this is absolutely correct. So this story is just so electric on so many accounts. But first of all, I want to start off by just giving props to, Jaden at the News and Observer, she wrote a story earlier this summer about how this is essentially, best college sports season for NC State in its history, breaking that down from swimming to basketball, all the things. And then at the end had a section about the club sports and things like that. And now I forget if the tractor team was mentioned there or we got the email and then updated the story. The Pack Pullers are included in that story, but essentially we got an email with the subject line "Story of the Year?" ? I mean, you're gonna click that. So me, being the intern this summer, that was passed along to me, and honestly, I took that as a badge of honor, really, because what an incredible story. I got to go out to just the campus, walk around, see the tractor, actually sit on the Intimidator, and that was incredible. Really comfortable seat. I mean, going down to the details, there's actually a charging apparatus, so I could plug my phone in. I don't know if they have aux capabilities, but I'll check with them on that. But
I mean, if you're gonna be pulling stuff, you got to be bumping some tunes.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
So, what's that song? She thinks my tractor's sexy.
Yes.
Or yeah. So gotta ask about that. But yeah, it was great. I mean, you talk about the whole idea of this hands in the dirt mantra, but who really better embodies that than this tractor team?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You mentioned hand in the dirt. That this just screams Dave Doran at some point this season sitting on that tractor. Maybe he comes out from the tunnel in that tractor.
Can they bring the tractor out
They should.
to a game?
They should do that.
I think they should do that.
Yeah, Ag Day. Why not?
Yeah. And at any point you can play any number of country songs that references tractors, trucks, jeans that fit just right, and a water tower. All those things have to be mentioned and fishing. Don't forget about that. Don't forget about fishing too, which again, NC State has dominated in that one. So congrats, NC State. They continue to do it. These guys. So this is more of an engineering thing though, right? I mean, obviously there's pulling in place, but the one thing NC State likes to pride itself on is an engineering school. Before everybody wants to make the jokes. Again, this is more about engineering than it is some dudes on a tractor.
Right. Yeah. And it's really complicated. I mean, I break this all down in my story on the News Observer. Quick plug. But basically, it's a comprehensive test of each team's tractor design. Okay. So it's in Peoria, Illinois, and they have to justify their design choices and then just demonstrate their tractor's superiority and operational efficiency, durability, effectiveness. There's this 25-page rule book, which I actually did hyperlink in the story if you do want to check it out. And it's crazy. There's certain widths that they have to use for different materials, really specific, minute things. The biggest thing, though, that they explain, this is usually the largest hurdle for them, is that the entire apparatus has to weigh less than 900 pounds. So as their team advisor put it, the tractor's got to go on a diet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Same.
Clutch can't, they have
Very
a clutch.
relatable.
It can't have an air gap. And apparently there's this judge that really prides himself on being able to stick this paper thin piece of metal through the gaps. And if you can do that, you fail. And then it's just crazy stuff. So,
basically everything you're telling me is that a Cybertruck would get kicked out of this competition. The gaps are terrible on that thing, but that's another story. I saw one the other day and I was just like, that thing is just put aside it looks like a PlayStation 1 racing game graphic. Right. It just looks badly engineered. So that's what this is really about. How well put together is this thing? Yeah.
And just there are various, aspects of the competition. One, they have a, presentation where they have to it's like a thesis defense almost of the tractor, and they're asking them questions about the market and are you worried about how this will impact sales of other tractors at the company? I mean, like they have to think about, the business behind this too, not just the marketing. And I'm just going to say, like, I was very impressed. Again, they showed me some love. They hooked me up with this really sweet t-shirt.
It's a great shirt.
Not really sure, as a senior at UNC, how much wear I'm going to get out of it, but we got to bring it out.
No, you got to wear that to He's Not and see how it goes. That's what you need to do. Combine the two. Have the blue cup. Wear that shirt. I wouldn't be shocked if I see that thing sold at the NC State Fair next in a month and a half or so. So just be on the lookout for that. Does that warm your heart, Joe? Does this not take you back to when you were 21?
Oh man, I wrote about cricket. Speaking of, there was a bar that had a darts league in Chapel Hill that I went and wrote about. Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
My dad is in that darts league. Yes.
Hey, you gotta go and do what you gotta do when you're 21. You're like, you want me to go to the airport? Yeah, man, I'll go do that.
Hey, do you want me to annoy Joe Giglio at Carter Finley Stadium in the old press box by shouting into a phone, an actual landline phone to ESPN Radio and Fox Sports Radio and AP Sports Radio? An update about Phillip Rivers? Yes. Okay, I'm in.
It warms my heart.
That's
Shelby wants to pay the price and go through the process. That's what warms my heart.
It's called paying your dues.
Yeah. None of this Jonathan Jones. Let's skip to the end of the line and write a controversial take on Russell Wilson and get the people going.
He was a senior at that point. And congratulations to JJ. He got married over the weekend.
Jay.
Our Jay got married just in time for the start of football season. See, he respected fall is for football.
That's right. Tell your family.
2 weeks off. 2 weeks. There you go. Because we got football. Speaking of which, Carolina and NC State start their seasons on Thursday with completely different kinds of games. With NC State and Western Carolina, it really just comes down to don't do anything dumb. Don't get hurt. Get ready for Tennessee. With North Carolina, it's about getting your season off to the right start and also figuring out who your quarterback is going to be. You were there for the Mac Brown press conference on Friday. I only read the quotes, so you got to give me some context here. I feel like, again, this is just from my view, just reading the quotes. It feels like Mac Brown's taken this entire lead up to the Minnesota game a little too cutesy. They're not, we don't want to show you anything. We're not going to tell you which quarterback is going to be. I say the hope is we play 2 quarterbacks, but who's to say that we don't get somebody who comes out and looking like Drake May first thing, right?
Which is not going to happen.
Which is not going to
happen. I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah, well, if you had somebody that was Drake May, you would not have the Max Johnson, Connor Harrell situation, right? So we don't know who's going to start this game against Minnesota on Thursday, but it is my observation from afar. Am I being a little too harsh? Because I do feel like this entire offseason has been, right down to the spring game, a little too cutesy in what they don't want to show.
I think it's interesting. It's one of those things. I mean, people always say that football's a simple game and it's coached by complicated people, right? Yeah. I think this is Mac himself has even said that, and he's really just kind of living into that ideology. I mean, down to, we joked about this, I think last time I was on, but the spring game that wasn't the spring game, and then bringing in, Criswell, and it turns out, he's really just looks like for depth this season, but again, kind of, they didn't really, it's complicated. Like, did they play into, now we have 3 quarterbacks, or I don't know, just that was the whole thing. Now it's very clear that it's between Max and Connor. I think just the kind of sentiment that a lot of people just on the UNC beat are feeling is that Max is going to be the starter just due to his experience in the SEC, things like that. But again, we don't know. There's nothing really definitive from players or coaches saying that. We actually couldn't talk to any players or coordinators on Friday like we typically would do just in the lead up to the first game, essentially because, Minnesota isn't giving away a lot, so we're not going to give away a lot. You're just going to talk to Mac, things like that, which, again, we've had great access to players and coordinators throughout fall camp, but it's just a little bit odd, again, a little bit cutesy that, we don't want, the players accidentally saying, and whatever. I get it, but I don't get it. Anyways, I just think that it's interesting because, Mac Brown has preached this whole idea of, I think what you do is you stay simple, but he's been anything but that throughout this entire process. And the thing that really, I think, concerns me about this, and again, this is just my opinion as a 21-year-old who covers this beat. I am not a Hall of Fame coach, obviously, but you have a super inexperienced offensive line, super green. And that's something that Mac even kind of brought up on his own in the press conference, is it because the thing about Mac that you have to understand, he's super media savvy, he's super smart. So he even like made some comment about, well, you know, if they come back and they're bad, you guys are going to say, well, he said the O-line is going to be super good. No, like they're inexperienced. He like kind of predetermined there. Anyways, whole other thing.
So he's to your point, he's giving away the game for the real issue for North Carolina. It's not necessarily who's going to start this game. It's how is that offensive line going to hold up?
Right.
And that's why I kind of get back to, well, if your offensive line's a little shaky, then I would probably want, and you have Amari and Hampton, who's going to be the focal point of the offense regardless at running back.
Yes.
Why
that
would
is
you,
not a secret.
That's not a secret.
To any team.
That's not a secret. Minnesota is not going to be surprised that Amari and Hampton is going to get fed the ball.
This guy's pretty good.
Oh, wow. How about that on Thursday night? I am not a football savant by any means. It just seems to me that if you have a shaky offensive line and you need somebody to make plays, that's where Connor Harrell comes into play. I'm correcting myself.
I know we're both, we keep getting that wrong.
I know. At least his name is not Sam Harrell. That I would have been totally screwed up.
We're toast.
I totally toast on that one.
Sam's.
So
listen, you hit the nail on the head there. Mac really is a master at PR. He's a master at sleight of hand as well. And I don't know if it's cutesy or if it's self-preservation.
Okay.
Right. Let me go ahead and state the offensive line is super green.
Oh, sure.
Before we head in.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Why I say self-preservation, why I say I don't think it's being cute. PR 101. You got 2 steps in PR 101. What can we give people to talk about that distracts us from the real issue with what's going on?
Okay.
Number 1 in the playbook for football coaches, a quarterback competition. Number 1. Hey man, let's have a week where we talk about Max Johnson. Hey, let's have a week where we talk about Connor Harrell. Hey, we got this guy back from Arkansas. He hated the red colors. Let's bring him out there. We'll talk about that.
Keep him engaged.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's smart. And number 2 is injuries. This is something I told Dave Doran. I had this conversation with him in 2019. I go, you don't want to talk about whatever else is going on. So let's talk about injuries. Who's not playing? Who is playing? Give people something to talk about. And you know why you give people something to talk about? Because you don't want to sit here and talk about what's really going on. Carolina lost 4 of their last 6 games last year. They lost their final 4 games of 22. And while, yes, Mac has addressed those issues about how he thinks they need to play more players and do whatever else, the schedule got harder. Florida State was pretty good. You know, my Mac is terrible. I need Aaron Beard for that. Truth of the matter is, like, I would be talking about anything other than the real thing too if I was Mac.
Fair.
And all the way down to signing day, where normally on signing day, he's full of rainbows and bullshit and sunshine.
He was talking about NC State.
He was talking about NC State.
I was at
the
that.
Strangest thing.
Okay.
The strangest thing.
So if I'm Mac, yeah, man, well, let's dissect our quarterbacks. Let's talk all about it. Because the problem is, and again, I keep getting back to this, they had a football game at Carter Finley Stadium on November 25th that North Carolina did not show up for. And there is, I would now suggest there's a significant portion of their fan base that is growing, that is discontent with Mac Brown and the way that the last 2 years, even going back, the last 2 years as Grace. 21, they were a preseason top 10 team and lost to a horse shit Virginia Tech team in the opener. That now the ACC network like lives to play for everyone. And look how awesome that your Sandman was. Oh my God. Oh, well, yeah. Well, you still don't have, they didn't play the game.
Just wait till you hear the bluegrass version of Enter Sandman later.
I'm all over it.
Yeah.
The generic one that they put on the college football video game.
Different.
That's different.
So,
that's
so
different.
for me, if I'm back, let's talk about anything else other than what's really going on. And how I've been able to come back here and really not deliver on whatever promises that I've tried to keep.
And I guess that's my issue. That's why I say cutesy, is because at this point, we shouldn't be at this point with Mac Brown, at least the way it was portrayed when he came back, we should not be at this point where it's kind of going out like this. That I guess that's my ultimate issue and why I'm kind of reacting to the, come on, man, we're too deep into this for the gamey stuff to be happening ahead of this Minnesota game, which is a really crucial, important game, not just for Mac Brown and North Carolina, but for the ACC as well.
Yeah.
This is a game that ultimately matters. So I'll be curious to see how it all plays out. Are you going to Minnesota?
I am. I'm going with the DTH.
I love Minnesota. I love Minneapolis.
I'm very excited. I have some family out in Minneapolis, so it'll be exciting. I think they got tickets to go to the game, and I'll be going with Caroline Wills, sports there at the DTH, and then Heather, who was with me at the N&O photo edit. So I mean, we're gonna have some great visuals, great stories out of that, but it'll be interesting. Again, I think the reason I bring up the O-line, it's just a little bit concerning for me if you have a super inexperienced O-line and you're trying to, I don't know, just blend schemes and teach them, certain like schemes for this quarterback, that quarterback. You're putting a lot on them when literally only one guy, that being Willie Lampkin, has ever started a college football game before. Now you're throwing them out there on the road. I don't know. Again, it'll be really interesting to see also two new defensive coordinators on both sides. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Shelby, we appreciate you hanging out. I'm glad you rocked that NC State shirt. That thing's fantastic.
Pack Pullers.
Pack
Pullers.
I have to say, Joe, technically, you got to look at it. There's a whole lot of branding going on there, but not the branding.
Yes.
As you could appreciate.
Yes.
In our attempts in the t-shirt and memorabilia world.
As somebody who has to ask, A, the person who's making the designs, B, the person who's making the shirts, and C, my wife, who will get on my ass about these. Hey, true story with the junior cane stuff. There's somebody who's like selling polos. Kelly immediately was like, "Is that official?" I was like, "Okay, fine, we can't do that. All right, fine." So trust me, we can't get away with that stuff. So that's inventive. I appreciate what they're doing there. All right, Shelby, have fun this week. We'll talk to you later.
Don't you turn me loose. Turn me loose.
If you do plan on turning loose, make sure you have all your legal affairs in order. So what you do is you go to Whitaker and Hamer. Check them out, wh.lawyer. You go to the office, say, "Hey, I'm about to turn loose.
You gotta do it my way."
So how do I go about making sure that everything is,
no way at all.
I's dotted, T's crossed, all that kind of stuff? That's what you get professionals. You get the professionals at Whitaker and Hamer, attorneys and counselors at law. Check them out at wh.lawyer. I'm sure wh.lawyer, the folks over there, would also advise the pack pullers, you might want to avoid certain marks when you're doing those shirts. Just
I could tell the wolf was a little bit of a knockoff.
A little bit. Now, if you want real awesome officially licensed gear, our friends over at Home Field have you covered. Big thanks to Home Field. They absolutely crushed it at the Sports Podcast Festival. You got to meet Josh.
I did.
Josh is a good dude, man.
Yeah, and let's just say thank you to him on behalf of everybody, because I think he said they have 88 programs that they're involved with. Like that's
88 different podcasts.
That's really cool. Like I think that's their belief in this format and the audience that we reach. Like they understand it, they get it, and they have amazing stuff. That's the thing. The quality of their work is really great too. But all of the marks that they have, like that App State one that you put up there. I'm now like kicking myself because I really like I have the Wake one.
I know you do.
I have the ECU one because I'm the world's biggest sucker for script.
Yeah.
But that
Kelly's
App
got that
State
Carolina
with that helmet, I mean, that's classic. I love it. And whatever your school is, they have it. And I think I have it lined up with Josh now that we'll have some bomber jackets for the golf tournament.
Yes.
Because remember last year I promised them and then I went to go buy them and they were gone.
They're gone.
I mean, actually, they were gone.
I
man.
saw a guy rock, as hot as it was in the Rialto, I saw a guy still rocking his NC State bomber jacket inside the Rialto.
I mean, like right quick, man. So we will have some of those for the OG Golf Classic on October 4th. But yeah, we have a new promo code, OG24. Use that. What's our savings?
15%.
15. All right. I like that.
15% when you go use that promo code at homefieldapparel.com. Speaking of saving, download the Breeze Through app. You can save money on gas and other goodies.
Speaking of thank yous.
Yes. Thanks to Breeze Through. Adam and the crew over at Breeze Through and Julia, they brought the food truck. Food truck crushed it as always. If you're interested in that food truck, they do set it up ahead of NC State tailgates. So, speaking of which, Breeze Through is strategically located at just about every FBS playing school in the state. Very strategic of them.
Weird. It's almost like they're smart.
Weird, right? So if you're going to the NC State Western Carolina game and you don't have a tailgating spot, first come, first serve, you can park at the gas station right across from Carter Finley Stadium. And they got a food truck there that you can order from. Even better, right?
Go inside, get yourself a 40.
And you said this to me when Adam and Spencer Hall were wrapping up their sponsored content.
You're going to give our guy a shout here?
No, absolutely. I told him this. So Adam at Breeze Through, what did you tell me?
I said, I thought Adam liked us. Nah.
No.
Sometimes I forget like the SEC thing. It kind of runs deep.
It does, man.
It runs deep. So he was upstate. He was on stage with Spencer Hall from the Shutdown Full of Gas, and I'd never seen somebody so happy.
He's so happy. So happy watching Spencer Hall try the chicken tenders, trying the dog, the gas station food. He even got a shot in at a competing gas station. I mean, Adam was
ready.
Feeling it.
He was ready.
Man, feeling it. And yeah, we could not have done that podcast festival that everybody enjoyed without Breeze Through. And we're locked in for next year, so it should be a lot of fun. So again, check out breezethrough.com. We've been talking a lot about tailgating. And if you actually have the means and a spot to tailgate, do you have the meats? Do you have what you need to grill? That's why you go to the butcher's markets, thebutchersmarkets.com. You can get something simple like burgers, dogs. They got the steak tips ready to throw on the grill. But if you want to go all in, you want to marinate something yourself, you need the rub. You're looking for the right things to use for smoke. They've got it all at the butcher's market, Joe.
Yeah, Kenneth, they know what they're doing in terms of those different seasonings and rubs and everything else to get your stuff ready. But you said simple, sir. Their hot dogs that they make are not simple. They're delicious. They are the best.
Yeah,
I'm eager to have on Thursday. I'm ready. Let's get out there. Let's get that grill going.
So check them out, thebutchersmarkets.com.
Lightning round.
Next year on my list of things to do, we got to let Bud's band like play us in, like old school, right?
Yeah.
And then we need Brian there to we need like an intermission where Brian like plays all of the lightning rounds greatest hits.
Well, why don't we just do the lightning round live with Brian there to do the little sweeps,
sign them up,
the little stingers to go with that.
I love it when I sign up people for work.
Yeah, you do have a tendency to do that, but I think Brian would be down.
Yeah,
Brian would be down from that. We got a tweet from Mr. Marshall. Looking forward to some talk next week about the Panthers preseason game 3. No need to go insane, but they look competent. They scored points, 2 touchdowns. They won the game. 3 things that never come to fruition the last 2 preseasons. Yeah, I couch this with, it's not like the Bills were playing any of their starters.
I don't care.
But you're right. You don't care. They did what we've been asking them to do. Put Bryce Young out there. It's not lost on me that they put Bryce Young out there. Kind of a theme of the show today. How good is your offensive line?
Yeah.
And if your offensive line is relatively healthy, then they felt comfortable putting him out there to just run some of the things that Dave Canales is trying to implement with the Carolina Panthers. And based on, I didn't watch that game live because I was wrapped up in college football and obviously the podcast festival. So I just watched some of the highlights. And the only thing that I could take away in a preseason game against the non-starters against the Bills was that all the stuff that people have been talking about in practice, how Bryce Young's elite ball placement, that kind of stuff, he looked competent, looking like he's actually running an offense. All that seemed to be visible in this preseason game. So it gives you a little bit of like, oh, okay, they seem to be at least well run right now. Hopefully injuries will subside and we can see the Panthers get a legitimate healthy crack at this thing with Bryce Young.
So my wife wants us to, speaking of copyrights, copyright positive vibes only. And I watched the post game from the Panthers.
Yeah.
Dave Canales in the locker room.
Yeah, man.
And I was like, dear God, this man.
Yeah.
And the two of them.
Yeah.
Bryce Young and Canales, they're like a perfect symbiosis. Like they're the same person.
Yeah.
When it comes to this sunny disposition. That ain't for me, but holy smokes. Like they were both just like beaming.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? You win 2 total games last year. Yeah. Have a moment, man.
You're looking for anything Bills, positive.
Also, shout out to Darren Gant. I'm not going to apologize to Jack Plummer, but good for Jack Plummer for having a game. Looking good, playing well.
Yeah.
The first 2 games, he was not good. That doesn't mean let's commit a roster spot to him, but I will give him his flowers for playing well in the 3rd and final preseason game.
You know, there were things that came out of the podcast festival that I should have thought of ahead of time, right? Like I awkwardly started the thing because I'm in front of 400 people and I'm in my little happy studio just looking at you.
Right.
You know, I know there are thousands of people who are listening to the podcast. Not the point. I don't see them.
Right.
So it was weird to have like 400 people staring at me. So I awkwardly started it. I should have said something like, let's sports podcast festival, you know, or something like that. Felder had like walk-up music. Shutdown Fullcast had walk-up music. I felt like we should have walked up to Lucky Town.
Or the lightning round version of
Nah, we should have just gone straight Lucky Town. I feel like that's what we should have done. And that was a missed opportunity on my. I should have thought about that ahead of time. So Jacoby Brissett looks like he hurt his shoulder. Although the reports coming out today out of New England are that it's not as bad as it was initially thought, but it did open the door for Drake May to potentially start week 1 for the New England Patriots. Again, theme of the show, offensive line. The problem for the Patriots and the decision that Gerard Mayer needs to make is, do you want Drake May to sit out there in front of that offensive line that needs a lot of rework? We talk about Bryce Young surviving in front of a bad offensive line last year.
Yeah.
Drake May finds himself in a similar situation. I do feel like if Jacoby Brissett, I think the reference that I saw in quotes was Drake May went from deferring to competing this last week leading up to the preseason game, and now he has put himself in position to potentially start. I know that Chris Collinsworth was beside himself with some of the things that Drake May did. It reminds me, like we've been talking about, wow, a lot of y'all just don't watch a lot of Carolina football. Who would have thought, right? So I think Drake May will eventually go to the starter. I just don't know, given the offensive line, if it's worth his development to put him in front instead of Jacoby Brissett.
Every situation's different.
Yep.
Right. So while Bo Nix and Sean Payton seem to be a marriage made in heaven, and you understand why he's going immediately to him, I could understand the Patriots in a hard reset year, by the way, can look at that. And I think there was an argument to be made last year that the Panthers would have been better off with the red rifle rather than throwing Bryce Young out there, particularly after the offensive line injuries in week 1. So I think the Patriots are in a different timeline, if you will. Now that it requires Jacoby Brissett to be healthy, but I could understand why if they would start the year with Brissett and say, okay, let's see what happens and give Drake the best possible chance at long-term success. For some quarterbacks, that's playing right away. For most quarterbacks, it's not.
We've got a lot to get to. It's a lightning round.
So much to get to. The Kansas City Chiefs added a wide receiver, not named Tyreek Hill. He's not back. Juju Smith-Schuster is back, though.
Juju on that beat.
Yeah, he's back with the Chiefs. So once again, the Chiefs are taking either reclamation projects that'll finally work themselves out because your quarterback is Patrick Mahomes, or they went and drafted a key piece that you'll never have to hear about Tyreek Hill again with Xavier Worthy. We'll see if that ends up happening in a three-peat. And then over to the Dallas Cowboys, we're still on CeeDee Lamb watch. And
It's getting to be about that time.
it's getting to be about that time. And Jerry Jones is getting to the point where he's not even talking about CeeDee Lamb. Because, Jerry, man, you wind him up and let him go. He'll say all sorts of stuff like circumcising the mosquito. That's an actual quote from Jerry Jones at one point in time. And they've talked about Dak Prescott and his deal, but Dak's going to play. He's going to play because he's going to get paid after the season one way or the other, whether it's with the Dallas Cowboys or somewhere else. We know what the going rate is for a competent quarterback in the NFL. The CeeDee Lamb one's intriguing to me. And again, I'm not completely just immersed in all things Dallas Cowboys. And I've said before that the Cowboys seem to be speed running a full season's worth of misery just in the preseason, given the way that Jerry Jones has gone about this. But it's much like we say this is what the going rate is for quarterbacks. The wide receiver market is incredibly inflated right now. And if you want your homegrown talent to stay happy and be with you, it ultimately will be cheaper for you in the long run to just go ahead and sign that guy. Straight up. It just makes more sense to just go ahead and sign that guy. But for some reason, the Dallas Cowboys and it's not just them, but every NFL team seems to keep doing this playbook where they're dicking around and it's going to bite them in the ass when it's all said and done. So we'll see what happens with CeeDee Lamb, but
It's always a copycat league.
yeah, it
Right?
is.
The Chiefs lose Tyreek Hill, and it's like, well, what do we need receivers for? What do we need to pay the receivers for? We could just go get a bag of garbage and put them out there.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was reading the Washington Post this morning, and I think it was Mark Mask who had the story about how running backs are back, right? For years, we have talked about how running backs are just not worth the contract. And now that we're seeing the wide receiver market overinflate the way that it is, to your point, we can just go draft the next young guy, get him on a rookie deal, ball out, and then go let him be somebody else's problem, like the Dolphins with Tyreek Hill, and we'll just go win another Super Bowl. And the running backs are now in vogue again because...
Go be Clemson.
Right, just go be Clemson. Meanwhile, the running backs are getting back to being in vogue as real, true utilitarian positions that are worth the money. We've seen this with Saquon Barkley. We've seen this with Christian McCaffrey. We'll see how healthy he is this year. But we're seeing running backs go back into like, we need you guys. There's always an ebb and a flow to these things. Always an ebb and a flow.
Topic, stack it up. Giglio's roll back it up. Well, I know what we'll do. A lightning round.
Are we officially over Deion Sanders?
Sure.
It's over for him, right? The novelty is worn off. It's not even a, hey, he's good for ratings because of the curiosity of Colorado and Deion Sanders and the cult of personality. It just kind of comes off as Deion Sanders is soft.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate using that word because I think it gets thrown out a little too much. And it is weird to call Deion Sanders soft given his career. He's a Hall of freaking Famer. But when it comes to what's happened over the last...
sensitive.
Okay.
He's sensitive.
He's sensitive. Over the last couple of weeks with Colorado and how he's gone about it, he only wants positive coverage. Positive vibes only. I feel like we should send him a shirt. Positive vibes only. But there is such a thing as toxic positivity.
Mm-hmm. We've learned this.
There is a thing called toxic positivity. And Deion wants no negativity. None. He just basically wants people to carry water for him at Colorado. And that is not the job of people that are covering Colorado. And yeah, I think people are finally over it. It took a while, but we're finally here with Deion Sanders.
Yeah, the latest is there's a columnist in Denver who he didn't like what he wrote, or he's been too critical of him, or he called him names or something.
Yeah.
So now he is credentialed, but he's not allowed to ask questions.
No. However, that's going to work out.
Yeah.
Does he pass along questions to somebody else?
I mean, honestly, it'll be interesting. I'm telling you that gambling line suggests that they could lose to North Dakota State. Suggests it. So we'll see what happens.
Buddy, if that happens, knives will be out for real. They will absolutely be out. Well, if you want to keep the positive vibes, non-toxic, you go to Nature's Relief. This happened to me on Saturday night after I got back from the podcast festival. You know how it is sometimes. You know, you've been on.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough to turn it off. It's tough to shut your brain off. Well, Nature's Relief has these sleep gummies. They use CBD. They have some ones that involve Delta 8 or Delta 9 THCA, but they also have ones that don't have any of that, just straight CBD that doesn't have any sort of psychoactive effect. It's just used to chill you out, calm you down. CBD, CBN, there's another one of varying degrees of milligrams. And there's like a heavy hitter in there. I took that one.
A non-Giglio hitter? Yeah.
Yeah. When
Certain categories.
When I say heavy hitter, I mean one for me.
Yeah.
For you, it's just 5 milligrams. Right. And you're done. So for me, I'm talking like 50 milligrams.
But we're all different.
Okay, everybody's got different buckets to fill.
Just gotta run your own race.
So I took one of those, worked perfectly, slept like a baby. And then I followed it up with the lighter one last night, slept amazingly well.
Good.
So if you're looking for stuff like that, by all means, head on over to naturesreliefhempstore.com. That's RELEAF hempstore.com. We're going to be at the OG Nature's Relief soon.
9/12 over at Holly Ridge, Thursday, 9/12. So come check us out over there. Maybe we'll have a chiller. Maybe we'll hit up the peddler. Maybe we'll hit up the Italian joint. Maybe we'll hit up the Irish place. I don't know. But we'll be there.
I don't think peddler's open. Although if I take some of the THCA, I might want to hit the peddler.
You'd be like, hey,
let's not hit that salad bar, baby. Let's go. Speaking of salad,
Let's take a break.
Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hill.
Look, if you want a salad, it's fine. Happy and Hill has amazing salads. Amazing salads.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more than just salads. It's more than just smoothies. We're talking about real meat, protein-based bowls. You've had the protein bowl. I had the burger bowl when we were there for the live show a couple of weeks ago. That was fantastic. They absolutely nailed the taste of a fast food chain burger that hits that sweet spot, all in a bowl with really great crumbled ground beef.
Mm-hmm.
Really great stuff. And that burger sauce they put on top of it,
They got the sauce right.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. Quick hockey break. I know Luke DeCock of the News and Observer wrote about this with Seth Jarvis. We're still waiting. You know, we're talking about CeeDee Lamb, right?
I've been waiting
It's going to happen, right?
for a contract with you.
Just sign the damn deal. He's your homegrown talent. It's going to cost you more money in the long run. If you think he's the guy, sign the freaking contract already.
Or give it to him.
Or give it to him already.
Yeah.
Come on, Canes. What's going on here? Anyway, I digress. Point is, Happy and Hill has fantastic food. Download the app. That way you can make it really, really easy for pickup and go at their various locations. North Hill's always crushing it. You can go out to Six Forks, avoid the lines of the other place, walk up, grab your stuff, and go. It's fantastic. And of course, they'll be back with the Carolina Hurricanes this upcoming season. Big thanks to Hometown Realty for being a corporate champion. Check them out, myhtr.com. A lot of new construction, as we've talked about in the past. And with that new construction, the builders typically have some incentives. You might not know about all those incentives, but Hometown Realty does. It's all about buying and selling with confidence. You see guaranteed offers, you're leaving money on the table with those guaranteed offers. They're trying to make it out like it's much more of a hassle than it needs to be to sell a house. Not if you're using My Hometown Realty, not in the market that we're in right now where things are selling like hotcakes. So check them out online, myhtr.com.
You want to take like an average of 20% less or pay someone 3% to help you get the value that your property's worth.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really not a difficult Giglio brain teaser tax day decision.
No, it's not. All right, let's get out of here on some Hey Joe. A lot of reaction to the Sports Podcast Festival. Travis Fain really enjoyed this quote from Debbie Yao. You make stupid decisions, you get bad outcomes. That was her response to the belief or disbelief of NC State shit.
Yes.
I thought that was a great quote. The great quote from Debbie. Put that on a shirt.
Yeah.
Put that on. Speaking of Debbie, Holly Anderson from the Shutdown Fullcast said, after retweeting somebody who was in the audience saying Debbie Yao talking shit about Maryland being broke is a treat I did not foresee. Holly's response was, did not think jealous we didn't book Debbie Yao for the Fullcast would be the dominant vibe of the night, but here we are. Here we are. Like I said, we'll have that Debbie conversation in the OG fans feed. It'll be part of Law of the Wolf. From Big Wolf, speaking of Debbie, from Big Wolf on My Stangs, can Joe also start saying my Vols, my Tigers, and my Heels?
First of all, they're my Smoo. Now, come on. Poor Smoo.
They got it done. They had a couple guys ejected. They had a couple guys ejected.
They rallied.
I mean, it is what it is.
Come on.
It is what it is.
Hey, they were playing the Wolf Pack. What do you want?
That's true.
It is the year of the Wolf.
You're right.
I can't control which wolf it is.
You're right. You're right. So we got Isaac off topic, speaking of Debbie, but were you guys drinking Malort with Debbie? Yeah, they were looking at one of the photos here. This is
What is Malort?
I'll tell you in a second.
Okay.
I have to give you some Malort. But yeah, I also pointed out you never go full Felder. And Felder went full Felder, shirtless, dancing, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, here's a picture of that's the old Taylor that our guy Chris gave us for your Full of Shit Giglio.
Yes.
Which your mom was adorable as always.
Yeah.
It does look from a distance like it's a Malort bottle. Malort is one of these liqueurs, like a Goldschlager or a what's the
please don't say Rumplemints.
Rumplemints. Did you know they had Rumplemints at Longleaf? So Malort is like a Chicago thing.
Okay.
So if Luke is listening, he knows all about Malort.
He's got it.
So remember when I went to Austin for my brother's bachelor party? However many years ago that was now, 2-3 years ago. and his guy.
The month that you left me on the radio by myself for like the whole football season.
Yes.
That one.
I mean,
Yeah, that was good times.
wow. Oh no. I got into radio and now I'm doing radio. What? Damn it. It's not what I signed up for. So his buddy Hayes, another Hayes.
So many
Hayes out there. Hayes was living up in Chicago for a while and got into Malort. And it is the worst liquor I've ever had. The worst one. And there's also another one called Fernet, which is referred to as the bartender's mouthwash. It does taste like Listerine. It's pretty gross. But Malort hits another level, man. It's like this weird licorice type flavor.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Almost like a Sambuca.
A little bit. It's not to be confused with Underberg, which is just a bitter. There's no alcohol in Underberg. That's a digestive.
Gotcha.
Because Underberg is
kind of like a Sambuca.
Yeah, Underberg is another one of these. You'll see Underberg at a lot of different spots around Raleigh. In fact, I had Underberg last night because I had so much freaking food because I garbage plated the kids' smash burger.
Oh, you went to this wine yesterday.
I told you I went to this wine yesterday.
Right.
So I ended up getting the collard melt, but then of course my kid eats like 3/4 of his burger. You're telling me I'm going to leave a quarter of a smash burger left?
Mm-mm.
Hell no. Took that.
No.
Jacob had some leftover of the BLT. Ate some of that. Kelly got the whole hog. Ate some of that. There was potato salad. I ate some of that.
Potato salad is delightful.
It is really good. So I'm garbage plating, and I knew it that. Oh, and we also had the pimento cheese with the crackers. So I was like, you know what? It is time for an Underberg. Because
what did you get the other day? The fried okra?
Dude, the fried okra is fantastic.
That was really good.
Have you not had that yet?
No, that was the first time I'd had it. It
Dude,
was delicious.
The fried okra is underrated.
Yeah.
At Longleaf. Anyway, so Malort kind of tastes like that, but it's alcoholic.
Okay.
And I don't know if maybe I'm giving too much away here. I mean, how much do you want to know about the next day?
The next after, you mean on Sunday?
No. I'm talking about at that bachelor party after I had multiple shots of Malort. The worst liquor I've ever had that Hayes kept buying. And I had to chase with like Lone Star.
Ooh. Go ahead, man. We're here. Safe space. It's not even a home field.
Well, we're deep into this. So if you don't want your kids to hear this, it's fine. Fast forward 30 seconds. I had the worst shits of my life
from the Malort.
Like my ass was on fire, dude. It was bad.
So that was definitely not Malort on the table.
No, not Malort.
We weren't even drinking the brown liquor. We gave I don't know if we get allowed to say that in real life, but we had access to.
We had access to. Speaking of access, we no longer have access to hats.
I know. My neighbor hit me up. Zach, my bad, man. He was like, "Hey, I'm back in the neighborhood. Can I come over and grab a hat?" I was like,
"We'll order more. We will." What do you think was the most popular one when I put another order in? I felt like the white mesh, the gray with the white mesh, was more popular.
Was that white or gray?
It's a white mesh with a gray
tilt
front.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
that one seemed to be popular.
It was. I think so. Yeah. Okay. You got to remember, like a lot of our people are usually of the state persuasion. So if you're trying to put something blue in front of them, they will rebel.
So the black or the gray is what you're telling me.
The black was good.
Okay.
I think they were all good. I don't think anyone was like, oh yeah, no, not this one.
Okay.
Because like you said, there are some people who are like, no, I'd rather have the dad hat, more comfortable, this or that. And then the brand you're using for that trucker is the same Richardson, one that Adam uses at Breeze Through. So like,
it's a comfortable hat.
It's a really good hat. So you did well.
All right. We'll have to see. I'll put another order in because people want access to them. From Freddie. Fun Sports Pod Festival. Cool gear. Good times. 5 stars. He got the gear. Look at that. It was funny. Once I said nobody was taking stickers or cups until I said, yeah, by the way, the stickers and the cups are free. And then at that point, people just came up.
I like the new sticker.
Yeah, I'm happy with it.
Explain it because you said it's our new logo. Like we have a flag, but you're like, yeah, but some people might not know that that's us. So you decided to.
So all credit goes to Anna. Anna also designed the Pullman Park train hoodie with the shutdown full cast lizard or whatever it is, astronaut.
Yeah, I'm going to air it out here. You really need to have an intervention with Dimitri about his font usage.
Dimitri loves some Canva fonts, man. He really does.
Gotta have a talk with him.
So the stickers that you're referring to, we've got the OG flag, which you typically see. We've got a shirt for it. It says OG and all that kind of stuff. But Anna was very adamant about like, I don't even know what that means.
Right.
What is it? What are we doing here?
Life coachy.
Very life coachy. And I trust Anna because Anna doesn't sports.
Right.
So I kind of bounce things off of Anna because at the same time, you don't want to be so locked in
Sure.
that you're like completely missing the forest from the trees.
Yeah, she's basically saying people need to recognize that you're Ovies and Giglio.
Yes, not what is this flag?
Right. Don't make them work that hard.
So she modified the glitter sticker a little bit by putting Ovies Giglio podcast within the flag. But then she says, you know what? Screw it. We're just going to put tape over the flag, keep the motif, and that way you can read Ovies and Giglio, and that's what we're using.
Perfect.
And it's a good sticker. I'm a fan of that one. Definitely a fan of that one. Let's see what else we got here from JB, who did play for the Old Taylor. He lost. Real dope. Got to chop it up with Ovies and Giglio. Met folks like Brownlow, Felder, Spencer Hall. I might have been listening to their content for a damn decade. Played You're Full of Shit Giglio and two. Lost, but had a blast.
All right. Jay Bray's last time I was with him, we were,
You guys were feeling it last time.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a moment when he walked back on stage. So I was like, oh yeah. Me and Jay Bray. He would like my shirt today. I know that.
The Carolina Soccer. Definitely rocking that today. And we'll get out on this. We've been getting a lot of bluegrass covers. We've been getting some AI reworks of songs.
Yeah.
This is a new level. This is Enter Sandman yacht rock version. It's AI.
Yeah.
Let me get rid of this. This is from some guy named Joseph Fernandez. Yacht Sandman. Enter Sandman AI cover.
Say your prayers, little one. Don't forget my son to include everyone. Tuck you in, warm within, keep you free from the sin till the Sandman he comes. Sleep with one eye open, gripping your pillow tight. Exit light. And tonight, take my hand. We're off to Never Land.
You know what?
Hits.
That shit hits, man. Hits better than Malort, I can tell you that.
Take my hand.
That's going to be stuck in my
We're
head.
off to Never Land.
They absolutely nailed the aesthetic. So you know what? When Virginia Tech, what did I see? I think it was McAfee who had put Virginia Tech in the college football playoff to win the league.
Mm-hmm.
When that happened, like anytime Virginia Tech loses, they're going to get that version. Like now, new rule. If you lose at home with Enter Sandman, your next home game, it's got to be the Yacht Rock version. It's got to be Yacht Rock. Sorry. Those are the rules. You can't come out, Enter Sandman, being this intimidating place to play, lose. No. Your punishment, it's the Yacht Rock version of Enter Sandman. That's going to wrap it up. We will see y'all Tuesday.